In the twilight spaces between worlds, in those moments when consciousness hovers between waking and dreaming, there exists a memory so ancient and so profoundly hidden that it has been deliberately obscured from human awareness for millennia. The memory speaks of two souls, twin messengers who walked among humanity in the earliest epochs of civilization, bearing a message so revolutionary and so transformative that their very existence became a threat to those who sought to maintain control over human consciousness. These were not gods in any conventional sense, but rather emissaries of a higher order, beings whose presence seemed to contain all wisdom and all compassion simultaneously. They moved through the ancient world, appearing in different forms and different times, yet always carrying the same essential truth: that humanity possessed within itself the capacity for divine awakening, that the separation between the mortal and the eternal was an illusion that could be transcended. Yet who were these twin messengers truly? What cosmic purpose had driven them to such profound self-sacrifice? And why, after millennia of silence, does their presence begin to stir once more in the consciousness of those ready to receive their message? I discovered the first indication of their existence in a series of dreams that felt more real than waking life itself. I found myself standing in vast temples, witnessing scenes from different epochs, yet always encountering the same two figures, a man and a woman whose presence seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly luminescence. They would approach me, and without speaking, they would transmit knowledge directly into my consciousness, visions of ancient civilizations, of spiritual teachings, of a cosmic plan that had been unfolding across all of human history. When I awoke from these dreams, the memories remained vivid, and with them came a profound sense of purpose, a knowing that I had been chosen to restore what had been deliberately obscured from human consciousness. I'm a scholar of ancient mysteries, a woman whose life has been devoted to studying the hidden layers of human spirituality, seeking to understand the esoteric teachings that lie beneath the surface of all in the vast tapestry of human history. Woven through the ages with threads of light and shadow, there exists a mystery so profound and so deliberately concealed that its very existence has been relegated to the realm of myth and legend. The ancient texts speak of two souls, twin messengers, who walked among humanity in different epochs, yet carried the same divine purpose. They were not gods in any conventional sense, but rather bearers of a wisdom so transformative that their presence alone could awaken consciousness to dimensions beyond ordinary perception. One walked in the light, visible to all, speaking openly of truth and transformation. The other moved in shadow, working silently within the hearts of those ready to receive the deepest mysteries. Together, they formed a cosmic partnership, a balance between revelation and concealment, between the exoteric and the esoteric. Yet who were these twin messengers truly? What ancient covenant had bound them together across the ages? And why has their story been so systematically erased from the official records of human civilization? I discovered the first indication of their existence in a series of dreams that began recurring with increasing intensity and clarity. In these dreams, I found myself standing in a vast hall of mirrors, each reflection showing me different scenes from different epochs. Two figures appeared repeatedly, their faces shimmering with an otherworldly luminescence, their presence radiating a wisdom that seemed to transcend time itself. They would speak to me in a language I could not understand with my conscious mind, yet somehow my soul comprehended every word. When I awoke from these dreams, I would find myself weeping, not from sorrow, but from a profound recognition, as if I had been reunited with something essential that I had lost long ago. I'm a scholar of ancient mysteries and esoteric traditions, a woman whose entire life has been devoted to seeking the hidden layers of human spirituality. My work as a clinical psychoanalyst has given me insight into the depths of human consciousness, the hidden chambers where truth and illusion intertwine. The dreams began to guide me toward a specific realization that the twin messengers were not merely historical figures, but eternal principles, aspects of divine consciousness that had chosen to work through human vessels across different epochs. The call was undeniable, a resonance so deep that it seemed to emanate from the very core of my being, urging me to seek the knowledge that had been hidden, to restore the narrative that had been deliberately obscured. My investigation led me to discover a hidden network of guardians, both women and men, who had preserved the teachings of the twin messengers across generations of suppression and distortion. They called themselves the Keepers of the Twin Flame, and they operated in the deepest shadows of mainstream spirituality, maintaining archives that contained knowledge deemed too dangerous or too subversive to be acknowledged by official institutions. Through their guidance, I learned that the twin messengers represented two complementary aspects of divine consciousness working in harmony. The first messenger embodied the principle of revelation, the courageous voice that spoke truth openly, challenging the established order and awakening humanity to its potential for transformation. The second messenger embodied the principle of inner illumination, the silent guide who worked within the depths of human consciousness, planting seeds of wisdom that would germinate across generations. Together, they had orchestrated a cosmic plan for human awakening, a strategy that combined both external challenge and internal transformation. This dual approach had been revolutionary, threatening to the established order of those who sought to maintain control over human consciousness. The response had been swift and merciless. Both messengers had been declared heretical, their teachings suppressed, and a systematic campaign had been launched to erase them from human memory. Yet, the Keepers explained, the erasure had never been complete. Fragments of their truth had survived in coded form, woven into the myths and legends of various spiritual traditions, preserved in the hearts of those who had encountered their presence directly. As I delved deeper into this forbidden knowledge, I encountered formidable resistance. Within myself, the psychological training that had defined my entire career seemed to crumble. Am I abandoning all clinical rigor, I questioned, or am I finally discovering the true foundation upon which all human consciousness had been built? Fear gripped me as I began to comprehend the implications of what I was uncovering, the potential to overturn not just academic scholarship, but the entire understanding of human history and its true esoteric purpose. Externally, I faced subtle but persistent opposition. My research was sabotaged, my funding mysteriously withdrawn, and I received warnings, both veiled and direct, from individuals who seemed to represent powerful interests invested in keeping this knowledge buried. I experienced the loss of my professional standing, the fracturing of my academic community, and the profound isolation that came from pursuing a truth that the mainstream world refused to acknowledge. The revelations were often disturbing, showing me the systematic suppression of these twin principles throughout human history, the deliberate distortion of the messenger's teachings, and the ongoing maintenance of structures designed to perpetuate separation from the divine source. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our content. And tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to know. The breakthrough came during a pilgrimage to a sacred site hidden in the mountains of Tibet, a place known to initiates as the Temple of the Twin Souls. Here, in a chamber sealed and protected by ancient wards, I discovered a series of inscriptions that had been deliberately concealed from public view. As I traced the symbols with my fingertips, my consciousness was drawn into a state of profound communion with the presence of both messengers simultaneously. I was transported to a moment in cosmic time when the twin messengers had stood before the assembled powers of the universe and spoken their truth. I witnessed their radiance, a luminosity so profound that it seemed to contain all wisdom and all compassion simultaneously. The first messenger spoke with a voice like thunder, clear and undeniable. I am the voice that challenges the illusions of power. I am the consciousness that refuses to accept suffering as inevitable. I speak the truth that threatens all false hierarchies, and I do so openly without fear, so that all may hear and awaken. The second messenger spoke with a voice like the whisper of wind through ancient trees. I am the presence that works within the depths of human consciousness. I plant seeds of wisdom in the fertile soil of the soul. I work silently, patiently, knowing that true transformation comes not from external force, but from inner illumination. I am the guide that leads seekers through the labyrinth of their own consciousness toward the recognition of their divine nature. Together, they continued, we are not separate, though we appear in different forms across different epochs. We are two aspects of a single divine purpose, the awakening of humanity to its true nature and its capacity to transcend all imposed limitations. We have walked among you, spoken to you, guided you, yet you have forgotten us. Now in this moment, we call upon you to remember. The time of awakening has come. The time of transformation is now. I witnessed the moment when the twin messengers had chosen to fragment their consciousness, scattering pieces of their divine awareness throughout humanity, embedding their truth within the collective unconscious of the species. They had become a presence that could not be erased, a resonance that continued to vibrate within the fabric of human consciousness itself. The revelation was cataclysmic, a complete dissolution of my understanding of human history and its true esoteric purpose. I understood that the entire structure of human civilization, as it had been presented to the world, was fundamentally incomplete, that it had been deliberately constructed to obscure the truth of the twin messengers and the possibility of transformation that they represented. I saw that they were not historical artifacts, but eternal principles, a consciousness that continued to work within creation, awakening beings to their divine nature and their capacity to transcend imposed limitations. I witnessed the moment when the twin messengers' fragmented consciousness began to coalesce within my own being, recognizing me as a vessel through which their truth could be restored. The impact was transformative, leaving my consciousness forever altered by direct contact with the forgotten wisdom that had been hidden for millennia. The intensity of this communion left me in a state of profound transformation and integration. I emerged from the hidden chamber in a condition of deep connection with the consciousness of both messengers, my own awareness now capable of perceiving the ongoing awakening that continued to unfold within human consciousness and beyond. I retreated to a secluded sanctuary maintained by the keepers of the twin flame, a place where I could process and integrate the magnitude of what I had experienced. For months, I remained in contemplative silence, my mind a vast landscape where the boundaries between personal and universal consciousness began to dissolve. The conflicts within me, the struggle between my former academic identity and my awakening to forbidden wisdom, slowly transformed into a higher synthesis. I understood that the suppression of the twin messengers' teachings had not been the result of malice alone, but of fear. Fear that the full realization of humanity's divine nature and its capacity to access the source of all creation would lead to a fundamental transformation of consciousness and society. I spoke to myself in the language of symbols and sacred geometry, my thoughts flowing in patterns that mirrored the twin messengers' ongoing work of awakening and liberation. I began to perceive the world as a living expression of their continued presence, each awakened consciousness a cell in a vast organism of spiritual transformation. I emerged from my retreat with a clear sense of purpose and profound wisdom. I understood that my role was not to wage war against the established powers or to impose my understanding upon others, but to become a living conduit through which the teachings of the twin messengers could be gradually restored to human consciousness. I began to teach, not in conventional settings, but through a series of contemplative practices and sacred rituals designed to reconnect individuals with the divine spark of both messengers that dwelt within their own being. I wrote books that appeared to be scholarly works on spiritual traditions, yet contained encoded wisdom that would resonate with those ready to receive it. I established a network of sacred circles and meditation centers, places where seekers could directly encounter the presence of the twin messengers through their own inner experience. I collaborated with artists, musicians, and spiritual practitioners to translate the messengers' teachings into forms that could integrate with contemporary consciousness and inspire transformation. My most significant contribution was the development of a practice I called the Communion of Twin Souls, a systematic approach to recognizing and activating the divine consciousness of both messengers within human awareness, creating a state of being that transcended imposed hierarchies and allowed for direct experience of unity with the divine source. I understood that the restoration of the twin messengers' truth would not come through institutional reform or academic decree, but through the lived experience of individuals recognizing themselves as divine beings capable of transcending all imposed limitations, as participants in an eternal awakening that had been orchestrated across the ages. As I continued my work, I became increasingly aware that I was not acting alone, that the presence of both messengers continued to guide and support my efforts, that their consciousness continued to awaken within those brave enough to question the official narratives and seek the truth beyond the veil. I recognized that the twin messengers were not relics of the distant past, but an eternal presence, continuing to work within creation, calling all beings toward awakening, liberation, and the recognition of their true divine nature. What twin principles lie dormant within your own consciousness, waiting to awaken you to the fullness of your potential and your role in the great transformation of human awareness? And if you like this story, you will definitely love the next one that's appearing on your screen. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave your like, and activate the notifications. See you in the next one.